Welcome to Slash Forward. In this episode, we're putting the Phantasm saga to rest with 2016's Ravager. Does it provide a satisfying conclusion to the story? Let's get to it and find out. We open on Reggie wandering the wastelands of A Dimension, possibly the original, but his narrative voice seems unsure. He provides a Tall Man-specific series recap, and then we find out he's been wandering and salvaging, looking for whatever's been left behind in the Tall Man's path of destruction. In this case, a handy knapsack. He's confronted in the road by a tough talker who seems short on bravado when actually confronted. He offers Reggie a ride in exchange for cash, and Reggie pulls a quick mind game stating he had a CUDA just like this one, but it had a gun stashed in the console. His driver goes for it, revealing he knows he's in borrowed property, and giving Reggie an opening to get the drop on him and kick him out. He makes him strip first, but it's all good. He's not embarrassed for too long. The ensuing chase involves a lot of driving, blind shooting, and the desecration of a corpse. However, right when he gets the upper hand, he wakes up in Shady Oak's retirement home for the criminally insane. Mike is there, but he has no knowledge of the Tall Man, and in their conversation drops a dementia diagnosis on him. In the interest of keeping his mind active, he allows Reggie to tell his story, which starts at his chance meeting with Dawn, in need of help on the side of the road. Reggie wins her over with a classic move shared by Pennywise the Clown and every other sexual predator.
Well, hi, I'm Reggie.
I'm Don.
Hi, Don. See, now we're not strangers anymore.
They arrive at her family farmhouse, occupied by her and the farmhand Demeter. They spend the evening strumming and discussing the Tall Man, as per the usual. Dawn turns in for the night while Reggie composes a masterpiece in her honor. Outside, we see the Tall Man is watching them as they sleep. Reggie wakes up full of vim and vinegar, and is so taken in with the atmosphere that he asks Dawn if he could stick around for a bit, but gets no response. When he goes to check on her, he comes upon a familiar scene. At least we now know she's not a spy for the Tall Man. Reggie runs out to grab every weapon he has, then demonstrates that aging is a bitch as the orb trips him up with a simple tap on the back. He squeezes off a few rounds before hiding in the barn and stumbling upon Demeter. They're unable to communicate due to a language barrier, preventing Reggie from revealing the grim fate of Demeter's noble horse, his lover and primary means of conveyance. When Big D is up to bat, he makes a count, but gets caught on the rebound. Reggie then finds himself back at the home where Mike patronizes him with abstract talk of the multiverse. But Reggie's living it, damn it. Reggie finds himself back on the hunt and to a doorway, but then wakes up at the home again, aggravated by the lack of chocolate pudding. He eventually rediscovers the doorway and walks through, finding himself in a white space with the Tall Man. The Tall Man makes him an offer. Reggie can have his family back if he stops meddling, but Mike is part of the unfolding plan, so he's off the table. Reggie retreats through the doorway to think it over and finds himself in a funeral home where he's confronted by the seductress from the first movie. But she was the Tall Man, and he and the Tall Man just made a truce. And she stabbed him before. Problem solved, I suppose. Reggie goes down this newly formed indoor cavern and is treated to some classic dwarf shenanigans before he gets to bustin'. Then the walls dissipate and the Tall Man is back. Dang, my dude, give him some time. Reggie rejects the offer, and since Tall Man is done with funsies, he red pills Reggie into some sort of dirty torture chamber. He's released by a group of anarchists, one being Jane, a doppelganger of Dawn, who doesn't know Reggie in this dimension. They make their way out, but Reggie gets a little distracted, resulting in a dwarf fight and a fairly lucky shot. When they finally group up, we see their leader is Mike, and he remembers Reggie. They're in the world from the last film 10 years later, with Reggie having spent that time in a cryo chamber. He tries to prepare Reggie for the state of the world, revealing an unending hellscape that would probably be best for Reggie to skip over. So he does. Now he's on a roller coaster of dimensional sliding, wandering around before waking up back in hell. The added confusion causes him to require a little more attention, putting everyone at risk. He starts to flip out, but Mike tries to bring him back by revealing he had a dream about his own time after Oblivion, spent wandering the desert while the Tall Man moved beyond the rural, taking down cities with giant orbs and biological warfare. The story ends in the hellscape where Reggie decides he's had enough. The Tall Man appears and they blow him up. We then go through a loop through where it appears that Mike is now on board in all dimensions. They end up doing a gate jump from the hell dimension to the more hell dimension. Here the Tall Man confirms his plan has come to fruition, and so he no longer has need for any of them, and that he has enough copies of himself to keep them firing off rockets forever. We jump back to the home where we witness a gentle docking of realities, which we hope is actually happening. Because if not, Reggie just scatterblasted several civilians. They're picked up by Jody in a heavily modified CUDA, and they ride off in search of gasoline. They reintroduce the concept of the Tall Man hating the cold and resolve to take their steampunk party up north. In a somewhat baffling amalgamation of storylines, Reggie takes a snoozer and wakes up dead, in the presence of Jody. Then he phases through realities, including the one in which he just died, as they ride off toward the horizon. And that was Phantasm Ravager, an audacious film that seeks to tie up the Phantasm plotlines in a way that pays service to the requirement of a constantly changing storyline. If you enjoyed the video, I'd love for you to become a part of the channel by subscribing. Thanks for watching.